Good morning. Welcome back to the Enneagram Mom Interviews. I'm Whitney Ellison with Wellison Enterprises, and I'm so excited about this morning's interview. But before we get started, as a reminder, the Enneagram is a wonderful tool for developing self-awareness and empathy. And the mission of this show is to amplify mom voices by telling our stories, honoring our differences, and offering useful tips from our specific Enneagram strengths that will help all moms and all parents in general. Today's sponsor is Fit Philosophy, and Fit Philosophy is a balanced approach to fitness. We thank you so much for your support. They're giving away a wonderful, wonderful fitness program that starts on November 23rd. It's called the Holiday Hustle. It's $150 value. And for one lucky viewer, you can win this program, this month-long program. For daily on-demand workouts ranging anywhere from bar, body burn, Pilates, and strength training, and so much more. 6 15-minute workouts per week, which hence the hustle. Access to several live stream classes, and even 3 live stream cooking classes, and they'll even provide a list for ingredients and so much more. So this sounds like a great program. In order to enter to win this, watch this episode, and then in the comments after the episode is over and I've posted it, just make a comment about something cool you learned from Mary Catherine today. Speaking of Mary Catherine, she is our guest today. Mary Catherine Scott out of Asheville, North Carolina, another fellow 8. So excited about that. As an 8, I love interviewing 8s. She's an 8-wing 9. She is a writer. She has 2 little ones, one super little, like a baby born this year in April. Can you imagine? So we're going to get into the details of that, and I'm going to bring her on right now. Good morning.
Hi.
Welcome.
Good
So
morning.
nice to see your beautiful
Oh my
face.
gosh, it's so good to see you too. I feel
Nice
like
to
we're
meet you.
buddies. I know. I feel like we're buddies already.
That's right. That's right. Well, we've had a few good laughs, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh, including the first DM that I sent you saying, I intended to say, I'm so pumped to meet you, but I actually typed, I am so puked to meet you.
Which,
So,
like, made me like you even more.
I
Because
mean,
that's
nothing
something
like
that
a
would
great
happen to
first
me.
impression. Yes, exactly. I wanted to show you, I did wear my Ruth Bader Ginsburg descent collar
I
in
love
honor
it.
of you this
Oh
morning.
my gosh, that is so thoughtful. I
Yeah,
love
girl.
that. Especially with this election coming up, just
I mean,
honoring our woman, RBG.
that's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
channel
Yep.
her. This
You got to
interview
lift
is
a
gonna
sister
rock.
up.
That's
Yeah,
right.
no doubt.
Well, thank you, and it is good to have you here this morning. And
Thanks for
so,
having me.
to get started, I would just love to hear more about you, share with our audience who you are. And it looks like we got, yes, my friend Dawn, who was one of my first interviews. I think she liked the puke story. She was
Yeah,
funny.
excellent, excellent. The longer I am on this earth, I realize what I am here to do is to share my embarrassments to make folks feel good about their lives.
I love it.
That's my purpose.
You know what? I feel that on a cellular level.
Exactly. Well, I'm Mary Catherine. And your little blurb in the post that you shared was so sweet, Whitney.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like you covered a lot of it. I grew up in Alabama. My husband and I moved to Asheville kind of on a lark, thinking that we would be here for maybe 2 years. And something about Asheville, North Carolina is like a vortex. It just, once you move here, you're here. And I'll show you, I don't know if I can screen flip, but this is out the window this morning.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's stunning.
Not bad.
Not bad.
So I think we're here for the long haul.
I've heard great things about Asheville, by the way.
It is.
I need to
the
visit.
bomb. It's the bomb. It really is. I think people have like a preconception that it's crazy hippie madness, and like, please don't misunderstand. There is definitely some of that. Like, I walked past someone walking around in like a full chicken suit on the street yesterday.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's just a Tuesday,
That's right.
That's just like, that's just how we roll. But more than anything, it's just beautiful and great food, which is deeply important to me.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, so I write. I have a background in education reform. So I did Teach for America right out of college, and then worked in nonprofit education reform for a couple years after that. And then when we moved here, I kind of decided that I wanted to commit myself more to writing, and have been running a blog for I guess like 5-ish years,
Hmm.
with various levels of involvement depending on how
Understand.
pregnant or new postpartum I am.
I hear that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I have a Labradoodle named Tom Hanks, who's the
Yeah.
best,
So
and two
wait.
kids.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the name Tom Hanks for your dog?
Yes. So when my husband's name is Jordan, and he has been a dog lover forever. And I did not grow up with any pets ever, really.
Okay.
So when we got together, I fell in love with his dog. We started kind of dreaming about, oh, one day if we got married, what kind of dog would we have? So somehow we started talking about dog names, and he said we should name the dog Brinkley, which
I know what that's
immediately,
from.
yes, okay, so
You've
you
got
like me
mail.
would have thought
Yes.
it outed him, totally outed him as
Totally.
like a closet rom-com fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, busted, first of
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Second of all, we should just name the dog Tom Hanks. And so that, I mean, it's one of those things that started as a joke and then just became so ubiquitous that
Great.
that's what we named our dog,
That
which is
is
really fun to
great.
yell at the dog park and,
Yeah. So
anywhere.
is it Tom or is it Tom
Uh-uh.
Hanks?
Much like I am Mary Catherine, it is Tom Hanks
I love it.
always.
That is so great.
It's really
Okay.
fun. Yeah.
Well, so there's a fabulous sense of humor. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about your kids. You've got
Yeah.
two littles, and
Two
one of them
littles.
is a baby born in the middle of the pandemic. So let's hear all
Yeah,
about
girl. Yeah. So I have an almost 3-year-old. He's turning 3 in December, named
it.
Mac, little boy. And my little girl, Rosie, is brand new 6-month old, who was born, yeah, on April 19th. So we were like right in the beginning, in the height of the first
Oh
wave.
my gosh.
I guess we're still in the first wave. I don't know. I
Oh,
think basically when everything was like
it's a tsunami.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we were washing our groceries at the
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
that Rosie was born.
I'm with you. Mm.
It was a journey. It was a journey.
Yeah.
I actually had a really complicated first delivery with my son, and
Hmm.
so we joked all through the second pregnancy, like, well, it can't be weirder or scarier than that. And of course, like we
And God
plan
was
and
like,
God
hold my beer.
laughs a
Yeah.
100%. 100%. And so, yeah, we just, quietly ushered COVID into our lives,
Yes.
and that's what we were dealing with. So when Rosie was born, we actually, there was a period of time where I thought Jordan might not even be able to come to the hospital with me, because
Yeah.
that was when they were like, we're only allowing, birthing people and not partners. And so thankfully he did end up coming, and,
And that
weirdly,
wasn't the case everywhere. You were really lucky.
no,
So
yes,
yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, we had weirdly a nice, like, quiet experience. The delivery was great,
That's
and I
good.
think because of COVID, everyone was so super duper careful, and treated us like royalty. And it was kind of odd for it to just be us in the hospital as
Yeah.
opposed to like having family,
Hmm.
streaming in. But
Right.
in the end, it was kind of nice and a good
That's my
bonding
preference.
experience.
So
Yeah,
like,
totally.
you guys can come by in like 6 months. I'll see you then.
Totally. Exactly. Well, and that is literally, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, because she's months old, and we're just now, starting to meet her family from out of town.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's been wild. I'm sure all parents with kids in a pandemic understand. Anybody
Oh,
who's had a baby gets it. I mean, it's always tough, and then,
yeah.
add a little layer of complicated soup on top, and it just,
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
it.
So
You get it.
So I'm gonna, in a little bit, I want to dive a little more into that. I would say that parenting small children in COVID is the functional equivalent of a fiery enema.
That is like such a creative and descriptive and accurate
It's a
uh
very eight thing to
take.
say.
It is a very eight thing to
I
say. We
obviously
like to
don't
just
care
put
what
it out
anybody
there.
thinks
Yeah,
here, so.
we like to just put it all out there. Test those boundaries.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about your writing. Tell me
Yeah.
more about, what, where you've been published, what typical subject matter you talk about, what your blog is about, etc. Like,
Yeah. So probably the biggest thing that I had, first of all, love those kids sounds in the background. That just made me so happy.
the scream. She's a screamer. It's
Yeah,
great.
totally.
Anyway.
I got one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think probably the most significant publication has been Huffington Post.
Mm-hmm. Great.
I put a post up called An Open Letter to a Middle School Girl. Speaking of embarrassing myself for the world, and the beginning of the post is me, and I don't know if you had braces.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You know
I
those
could use them
big,
again.
like, yeah, well, couldn't we all? It's like, where do the retainers go? I don't even, they're like socks in the
Yeah.
dryer.
Take your parents' money and flush it.
Exactly. The big expanders that you have
Yeah.
to wear when you
Mm-hmm.
get your braces put on. The cover photo of this piece is 12-year-old me in a giant red expander.
Nice.
And it's all about like how, if you're in middle school right now, the pressures of like Facetune and internet presence and Instagram presence and all this stuff, it's just like an uncharted, crazy world. And so anyway, as kind of just a you be you and that's enough sort of post.
Yes.
And I think that kind of speaks to what's on the blog. I, of course, have my own, political persuasions, but on my blog, it's really, really important to me to be a space where people feel comfortable coming, regardless of their political or religious or socioeconomic, et cetera, all the boxes, ilk. So I like to do some investigative stuff.
Yeah.
Mostly questions that I don't know the answer to. And so I want to pursue getting to the bottom of and think, maybe somebody else out there also wants these answers. So most recently, I've done a couple of pieces on the election. One was yesterday, and it was very editorial and totally opinion based, which I, was very clear about.
Yep.
And then one back from that was a piece that was the opposite, that was totally objective and ran down each candidate's kind of platform, and in the hopes of just getting people spin-free information about who these people are so that they can make an informed, educated choice. So that's where my passion kind of is. And of course, I also have a sick love for awful, garbage, gutter reality television. So,
and that is where our paths part ways. Like, but I do need to share this fun fact about me with you, okay?
Yes,
so
please.
First of all, watching The Bachelor is so painful for me. I can't do it. Like, I can't.
It's unpleasant.
It makes me want to like.
You wore the perfect outfit for that, by the way. That's like
it's like
A+.
I cannot. And so back in my more like less self-aware, more judgmental days, I had words about that show. Okay, now I'm just like, oh God, whatever.
Right.
But I know count them 2 winners and 1 runner-up. No, not even kidding. Not even kidding.
Wait a hot. Hold on.
I had to share that with you.
I apologize that I'm going to need to derail this interview and take over for like 60 seconds.
Let's do it.
Okay. Are you comfortable saying who you know? Okay.
Yeah. So, and I will preface this with, I haven't talked to them in years. I'm 39. Okay. So the people I knew were in their 20s 10 years ago or more, right? Okay.
Yes.
So people may not even recognize these folks anymore. But the one that won Charlie O'Connell, Sarah Bryce,
Okay.
She
Yes.
was a sorority sister of mine. She was a year ahead of me at the University of Oklahoma, and we
Crazy.
lived right next door to each other in the Tri-Delt house.
Amazing. Is
Believe it
Boomer
or not,
Sooner the correct
yes,
cheer?
sooner.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I was in a sorority for like 2 years, and then I
Samesies.
dropped out. So,
Mm.
but that's okay. Go try it out. You're cool. Like, seriously, good experience. Okay, so Sarah Bryce, and
Okay.
then Sarah Stone, who
Uh-huh.
won the one with the doctor. She's from Tennessee.
Amazing.
I didn't know her that well, but I went to high school with her in Jackson, Tennessee. I moved a lot, a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
So
Clearly.
I went to high school at the University School of Jackson in Jackson, Tennessee for 1 year in 1996, my sophomore year. And she was 2 grades ahead of me. She was a senior that year.
Okay.
And I knew her younger sister, who was a freshman, a year younger than me. And so anyway, didn't know her well, but encountered her. And so I was like, oh my God, that's Sarah Stone on The Bachelor. So I
That's
knew her.
nuts.
And then,
Okay.
yes, and then I think this was season 2. Tara Huckabee, the runner-up for Jesse
Yeah.
Palmer.
Yeah.
So knew her very, very lightly through one of my college best guy friends, who we haven't really stayed in touch, but it was his college girlfriend.
I'm
So I
dead.
saw her all the time because we all hung out.
Why do
So
people who hate The Bachelor have like the coolest Bachelor
I
connections?
don't
Is what I
know.
want to know. Like, where are
I
my people? Why are my
I
people not
I'm
on this show?
telling you, and you're from the South. I mean, let's
Yes.
be real. The South is the breeding ground for Bachelor
Breeding
candidates.
ground. We have pageants and we
Yes,
have Bachelor contestants. And that's like really
absolutely.
where, and college football. And that's
Yes.
where we like thrive.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but if you notice,
That's hysterical. Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Tennessee.
Well, Sarah Bryce is from Louisiana,
Well, still.
and then Tennessee. So
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah.
Yep.
And my
Yep.
sister she tried out a couple of different times. She is a beautiful gal, super fun. And she would tell me, this was like, she's a little younger than me. I won't tell her age, but she's not much younger than me. So
Okay.
obviously the ship is about to sail for her dreams of The Bachelor, which is fun because she has a very, very nice gentleman now.
Okay, good. We love that. We love to hear that.
I used to get anxiety. I'm like, because she's going to make this show, and I'm
And then I'm going to have to watch it.
I'm not doing that family episode, because she'll make it that far. And I'm not going to be the biggest bitch in America. I'm not going to do it, because I'm so awful.
That's wise, because the family episode is always sickly my number one favorite episode of the whole season. Yeah. Because you really, I mean, everything you need to know about somebody is just right there. Like all the pop psychology that I love to, exercise on these people is just like, it's a buffet of mental issues. And I load my plate up.
Yes. And like I don't want people to see my parents.
Right. No, you're right. Your instincts are great to avoid.
I'm this out for you because
that's
it's
great.
never going to happen.
No,
so anyway,
that's
back
so
to
funny.
TV. Let's
discuss
for a minute. Tell me your affinity about this. We're going to get to the Enneagram. We are.
At some point.
First, we're going to get through this.
Listen, I'll keep it short. I don't know why, but I have always been a lover of all things Real Housewives, all things Bravo. I was like an early Bravo fan back in the What Not to Wear and that's actually TLC. No, I was an early Bravo fan in the early Top Chef days.
Yeah. Okay.
And the original Queer Eye before it got rebooted.
Okay, that's quality. I like
quality.
Yeah,
yes, and there are there's froth. We have quality froth, and then we have garbage. Quality froth would be Queer Eye. Garbage would be Real Housewives. Absolutely.
Oh, God, help me. Yeah.
I know. I'm perfectly aware of how brain rotting it is, and yet that does not. No. I feel no judgment. I judge myself plenty for the both of us. But it is just like a weird release. I don't know how to describe it. And The Bachelor has been a really funny, jaunt to connect with so many people who also kind of hate watch The Bachelor, much like I do. Used to have a whole section on my blog where I would recap each episode. This is before I had kids. I would spend 4 hours of blog post screen grabbing the show and writing. Oh, deep. Yeah. I mean, you as an 8, you understand once you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. And
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had to take a break this year from this ridiculous Instagram show called The Bachelor Corner, where I sat in a corner of my house and recapped The Bachelor every week. Why? Did anyone ask me to do this? No, they did not. No. Are they paying me to do? No, no, just me, just for fun.
That, you know what? Hey, if it makes you feel alive,
Yeah,
that is
exactly. It's
my
either that,
philosophy.
right?
If it
I know.
would
And
do what makes you feel alive.
I should have kept it up because, like, in 2020, it's either like the Bachelor Corner or like put cigarettes out on your own face to feel alive. So,
Yep. I mean, it's one
you
of the
know,
two. So,
yeah.
looks like you got a fan that says, and we love it. So, there you
Oh,
go.
that's
There's some
my buddy
affirmation
Cindy.
for
Hey,
you.
girl. Yes, that's awesome.
All right. So,
Okay, back to you.
Enneagram.
Back to your interview. Yes.
Let's see here. All right. So, do you feel this is a good follow up? Do you feel like these activities speak to your Enneagram archetype? Why or why not?
Um, yes, ish. I think that, I think that eights, as you well understand, especially female eights,
Oh yeah.
get a rap for being really angry.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the headline of the eight.
Mm-hmm.
And so none of these things, well, first of all, I want to push back against that stereotype,
Mm-hmm.
but none of these things really fall quite in line with, tough, angry, starting
The
confrontation.
stereotype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they do fall in line with putting it out there
Mm-hmm.
in kind of an unapologetic way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that fits within the archetype of an eight pretty nicely.
Yep.
I think I am more of an eight interpersonally than I am in words on a screen, because I've worked so hard to develop and exercise that muscle of empathy, which
Mm-hmm.
can come not so naturally to
Yep.
eights in the beginning of their lives.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd say yes-ish.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And I think like eights are actually what's really strange. We built this shell around us, right, to protect ourselves and we'll get into that in a little bit. Eights are actually a lot more empathetic than people know because we are champions of the underdog. We are the first
Mm-hmm.
ones to step in front and protect those that we feel need protection or are marginalized or are being bullied. Anything like, because, and I'm speaking for myself here, my experience is I
Mm-hmm.
see me in that. Like I
Yeah,
see
totally.
a child that was bullied or marginalized or oppressed or hurt or whatever it was, and that's how I built my protective shell, right, to kind of protect that child. And so when I step in to help someone because I feel like they may be able to help themselves, but maybe
Yeah.
it's
You're
just
helping
very
little Whitney.
instinctual,
Yeah.
right? And so that comes from a place of empathy. It just comes off less vulnerably than somebody who would open themselves up more, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And so the work is empathy development in a way that actually communicates that to others that may not understand that we're
Yes, that's easily
clumsily
recognizable as
yeah,
empathy.
right.
Yes.
Just
Yeah. Yeah.
little of mice and men here. We're trying.
Totally.
Just like we're
Yes.
trying. We just might
Yes.
break you on accident, but we're
Right,
trying.
exactly. We might squish you in our
Yes.
giant, powerful hands. I
Yes.
think, that's such a great way to frame it. And I think for me, the journey of developing empathy there's always been a very clear line for me, from like my heart to issues of social justice.
Yes.
I grew
Yep.
up and still am United Methodist and
Mm-hmm.
went to uh, really unique church camp growing up, where social justice was like the center of what we talked about every summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that championing the underdog, I just saw my buddy Patrick said Warriors for Justice. He
Yep.
is like, sometimes he thinks he's an eight, sometimes he thinks he's a two, but as an eight, that's exactly right. You are a warrior for justice.
Yep.
I think where my lack of empathy came in was growing up when I couldn't understand why other people didn't also feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so developing empathy for people who I truly was so different from, whether it was, upbringing, political beliefs, whatever, that was where I really had to grow. And
Yeah.
I think for a while I overcompensated that,
Hmm.
and it made me almost afraid to share an opinion because I didn't know whose feelings I was going to hurt, and got kind of too far out there in the empathy pool.
Yep.
So I'm kind of like winding it back and feel kind of settled. But yeah, you're exactly right about easy empathy, but hard to show it sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's two more parts to that. The other part of work for eights that is real work is vulnerability.
Mm,
I think that your post that you shared last night was a very vulnerable post. And,
thank you.
it was talking about the election, talking about
Mm,
why you made the choices you made on your ballot, openly sharing that, which even as an eight during this type of climate, like it's really scary to inflammatory, especially as someone that has a public forum that people actually follow that are going to have different opinions.
yes.
To share at that level. And yes, that speaks to an eight to speak their truth and own it, but also there was a lot of love and vulnerability in that post.
Thank you
And
so much for saying
yeah,
that. That's really kind.
absolutely. And it tells me you did the work. But I think that is a big piece of the work for eights is opening up. We have a hard time
Hell
trusting
yes.
people with our hearts, right? And our hearts are
Yes.
really big, but sometimes people might see them looking more like the Grinches, but they're actually really like almost too big. They're
Right.
big
To the point
energy.
that we don't want to, burdening someone with my emotional stuff
Yeah.
is like my nightmare.
Yes.
It is so hard for me to lean on people
Yep.
because I feel like I want to be the one who's being leaned on.
Yep.
And yeah, so that vulnerability piece, OMG,
Yeah.
G is so, I mean, I had like true upset stomach for like an hour and a half yesterday
Yeah.
after I had published on that because I was like, no, 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 this
Yeah.
was wrong. This was not good. And all, throughout the day with some friend therapy, they were like, "Man, Catherine, okay, let's get it
Yeah.
right. This is fine."
Yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely right.
And then the last thing I'll say about that you also kind of touched on in terms of growing up and people differing like from opinions that you strong, deeply seated opinions and so forth, and having little patience for that, and the idea of the protector. Something that I find that I'm working on is the lack of empathy comes for me with people that I perceive, and this is not a healthy thing, that I perceive as weak, that are
Mm,
not weak, they're meek. And there's a difference.
mm.
And I may have little patience for the way that they handle things because I feel like it should just be
Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up,
grab the
hurry up.
bull by the horns.
Totally.
But they are more peaceable, more thoughtful, and not as quick to move. And that's
Yes.
okay. And I've had to really
Yes.
work on that and be like, not to your point, not everybody thinks like we do. As a matter of fact,
Right.
most people don't. Like there
And
are
also,
many
we're not
different,
always right.
and that's really hard for me
Totally. Oh
because I
my
want to be
gosh.
right always. And that's very one thing as well. But you're right. We're not. You were
I
right this
literally
time.
have
We're
I have
not
in my
always right.
notes for this very conversation, I growing up, I thought it was weak to have too many feelings. Like
Yeah.
that is a sentence that I have written down to share with you today.
Yes.
Yeah, you nailed it. It is
Yeah.
so difficult to get to a point where you realize it's actually so many people have this rich interior life
Yeah.
that we're not privy to. And when you do get access to it, it's such a gift. But it doesn't mean that there's not stuff going on in there. Yeah, ding dong.
Exactly.
Like me, not them, obviously. So that is such an important lesson to learn
It is.
early and often.
You know what's great though is when you learn to work with the folks that are very different emotionally than you
You learn to trust each other and lean on each other to slow each other. They slow me down. I help them, you know, pull the trigger on something they need to deal with. And I remember one particular experience. I have a really sweet friend who she had a friend that was just not treating her right, and she would come to me and be like, you know, how do you interpret this, you know? And I would like be real gentle about it. Well, here's what she's, you know, thinking right now and what she's probably going through. And, you know, I feel like, you know, if you want to try to make this work, you're going to have to pull back and give her some space, all that stuff. Right. Finally, one day she sent me a message, and it's still going. And I realized what she really wants. And I wrote her back and I said, you know what? I think you need me to be an 8 for a minute. So I'm going to. And I'm like, you don't need my permission, but in case you need to hear this, you have my permission to understand that this chick is a jerk. And it's okay to let her go. And she was like, thank you. She's like, I was having a really hard time telling myself that, but I needed to hear it.
I needed somebody to say it.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
We can help people in that way, but we have to know when the timing is appropriate for that and when to keep our mouths shut.
150%. Yeah, people are not always looking for our opinion. What a surprise! It's shocking.
Which is why you have a blog.
Yes, exactly. You can sign in, or you can say, see ya.
Yeah, that's right.
One of my best friends in college was a 2, and she is so emotionally in touch and just such a wonderful person. Shout out to Victoria if she ever watches this. But she and I developed this this system where when she was telling me something or when I was telling her something, we said, do you want to solve the problem or do you just want to vent?
Yeah.
And just asking that question up front was so helpful so that I did not like bulldoze her and be like, okay, so this is what you need to do. Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, it's not always, first of all, I don't always have the answers. Again, mind blown. I can't believe. Right. But just sitting with someone in indecision is such a powerful thing.
Absolutely.
And, you know, both sides of that coin are one that comes really natural, which is giving somebody permission to boot, and the other one that is, again, a muscle that has to be worked.
For sure. And I think that 8s don't really like unsolicited advice. So perhaps we should remind ourselves of that when we start to open our mouths, right?
No doubt. I would love to have all these things that you're saying just on Post-its around my house. Like, don't give unsolicited advice. Maybe be still with people who want to be still. Like, these are gems.
I'm usually reminding myself of that after the fact. So
yeah, no doubt.
All right, so I have a really good comment here. Caitlin Livingston says, one of the best friends an 8 can have is a type 4 who feels all their feelings out in the open. 4s help 8s process things in ways 8s have a hard time getting to. And yes, Caitlin, I want to affirm that wholeheartedly. It took me a long time to wrap my head around 4s. And not in a bad way, but more in like an envious way, because I'm like, that number is really cool. I want to be like them.
Everybody wants to be a 4.
I want to be artsy and cool and unique, and you know,
wear cool stuff,
a wrecking ball, and
yeah, exactly.
Yes, 4s make wonderful friends. They make wonderful friends for everybody, but you're right, they really do add a level of emotional vulnerability to you know, an 8's life as a friend. Great
so
call.
True.
All right, so let's talk about the motivation of an 8, and that is to be in control. Now, I want to very clearly articulate what this means to our audience, because there is a misconception that 8s have to control all the time, and that is false. 8s find themselves in situations where they're very comfortable if the situation is under control. And if it is not, and they don't trust that somebody in that circumstance or situation can handle it, 8s are going to step in and take control. And they're going to make it, and it's going to be great because stuff's going to get done and the hammer's going to come out and things are going to get in control. Where we get ourselves in trouble is if that is unnecessary. And so we, you know, and that's the learning is it necessary for me to step in or not? We like to lead naturally. We don't need to hold the title of CEO to lead, and we're perfectly fine with wherever we fall because we're going to lead no matter what. But again, that's just our innate ability to keep a steady pattern going in life, and we really don't like it when that steady pattern starts to get so let's talk about that motivation. These are typically developed during childhood. If you have between the ages of 8 and 13, if you come from a place where you haven't had a disruptive childhood, this is typically where these motivations are developed. And when I say disruptive, I mean, if you come from a certain level of privilege, typically between the ages of 8 and 13, this is where these motivations are developed. Could you share a little bit about your childhood and what event helped you develop this core motivation?
Yeah, I am very fortunate and definitely very privileged to have parents who are still married. I mean, just naming it and claiming it, I grew up white, upper middle class with married parents. So it was, I am increasingly aware every day of the amount of privilege that I truly experienced. I think that, and because of that, everything, nothing really revolves around trauma or an event, but more revolves around the examples that I saw in my own parents. So my mom is a 2. My dad is a 3. And my mom is the most loving and supportive person that God ever made. She is just an incredible human being. But I was not ever a really cuddly, lovey-dovey child, which I think is something that we expect from female children. And so I naturally gravitated more toward what is traditionally understood as maleness. I think something more kind of outspoken, more confident, more unapologetic. Because I didn't have the capacity at that age to really drill down into my super deep, vulnerable feelings. My friend Katie just said, my mom is the example we all want to live up to, which is like 100% true. She is ridiculous. But I think that, to your point about feelings are weak, feelings are, sickness is weak even, which is so bizarre, but such an 8 thing. I went the other way and kind of loved playing the role of like the strong friend. And the person who people can rely on, the person who says what they mean. I remember turning around to a friend, or a classmate really, in high school who said, "That's gay," about something. And like lighting him on fire in the middle of class. And leaving the room, I thought, good for you, Mary Catherine. You really made a difference today. You really stood up for what you believe in, blah, blah, blah. Looking back on that, all I can think about is how humiliated he must have been. And
we do know how to destroy.
Right. And that was a horrible approach. And, of course, I didn't know that then. Now, in retrospect, the gift of hindsight, I understand that. And so I think, what really crystallized for me as a young person was a motivation toward the social justice component and the fight for the underdog part of being an 8. It took me a while to develop and share the softness and the kindness that was in there, but was kind of under some layers. And I think I always felt growing up like I was just too much. So I gravitated to places where being too much was okay. Like at church camp with all of my, friends who were also too much, or doing some, theater stuff where too much was great, or, places where I could just like kind of while out personally. So I hope that kind of answers that question.
Do you feel like you were born with that nature, or was there something that created that fierce independence and protectiveness?
I think it's just always been kind of in there. My parents have always said they knew when I was sick, when I was little, because that's the only time that I would come and like cuddle them and sit in their laps. They're like, "Oh, she has a fever." So yeah, I think it's always kind of been just like rattling around in there. I've always been comfortable being an individual
Yeah.
and looking at a scenario and saying, is this norm that has been created what I want to aspire to, or is there something else that feels more like me? And that's judgment free, for anybody else's choices. But yeah, I think I've always been a little bit of an offbeat weirdo.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
And the world needs weird. So
Yeah, I think so. I think we're all weird though. I don't think
do
that's
too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk a minute, and we'll get to these last two questions, but you said you're an 8-wing 9.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your 9-wing. How does that come through?
More and more the older I get. I think that the blog has been such an amazing exercise in really leaning on that 9-wing of, peacemaking, peacekeeping, real empathy, real deal empathy, not like a show of empathy, but saying to a family member who is kind of spewing hateful things like, I think that you have had this experience that has caused you to feel this way, and I can get there with you. Even though I cannot get to your conclusion, I see what happened to you that made this the outcome.
Yes.
And I think that hearing from people through Instagram, I was lucky enough to do a little takeover for my buddy who runs a sleep training account who has a lot of followers, and got some people to kind of come over, tricked them into following me. And so because of that, I have a lot of people who follow me on Instagram who I don't know. And the messages that I get from them, especially more conservative people, I tend to lean a little bit more progressive. And just being able to talk with them, to hear from them, all of that feeds into that 9-wing. So it's been, but it was really interesting. Whitney, you'll appreciate this. I have the big Don Hudson book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And my parents actually had that when I was in high school, and that's how I got introduced to it. And I have become the steward of that book because I'm a nut and I'm obsessed with the Enneagram now. And just last year, I found in the back of the book in pencil a note that my dad had written when I was in high school that said, Mary Catherine, 8-wing 9.
Wow.
And
interesting.
Yeah.
That
So
really
he knew I was an 8, but he called the 9-wing even back then. So clearly there have been, traits all along, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice and balancing.
It is. Now,
I
want to, as an 8, I want to challenge you for a minute.
Challenge me.
And say that I can totally see you have a 9-wing, but I would also push that perhaps you have a 7-wing as well. I say that because, of course, the 9's motivation is for harmony, to have harmony. Sometimes at the behest of not acknowledging issues when they need to.
Right.
That's a 9, not an 8 with a 9-wing.
Right.
A 7-wing, a 7, the motivation is for satisfaction, for, joy and happiness in life. And sometimes that's at the behest of their emotions because they're trying to cover up for things they don't want to deal with. But that drive for satisfaction, I see that when you talk about your penchant for garbage TV. And when you were talking about how you have that Instagram show you were doing the Bachelor Corner, that is not a 9 thing. That is a 7.
No, it's not. It is definitely a 7 thing. It's I love joy and silliness and really like taking, sorry for parents or grandparents, but like grabbing a moment by the balls and just, loving life in that way. I think the way that I am not like a 7 is I do not have a problem dealing with emotions in real time.
Sure.
I'm okay to be sad and then to say like, this is a time for sadness, and then there will be a time to move on from that. And so that that piece, I guess, is not so 70, but you're dead on the just unbridled ridiculousness that is a lot of my
And you have a
interests.
tattoo, right? You
I
got a
do have a
tattoo.
tattoo.
That's a
Yes.
little bit 7.
Yes. Oh
So
my
yes.
gosh. Yeah, you're so this is my only tattoo. This is, I don't know if you're a fan of The Office, but
Yes.
this is a Deep Tracks Office reference where Michael Scott calls he and his soulmate soup snakes when he's trying to say soulmates. And so I got this for my husband for Christmas. It is a bowl of soup with 2 snakes coming out in the shape of a heart.
Okay. So I'd say maybe explore that a little more. Here's
Maybe
the deal with-
reconsider.
No,
Maybe
no,
it's
no,
time for me
no.
to
I
reconsider.
definitely think you have a 9-wing. The only thing to consider would be is if maybe you have both wings.
Okay.
And I say that to share with everyone that it
Yeah.
is possible, and as we get older, likely will happen that we develop both of our wings. And so I
That's
actually use
fascinating.
both of my wings. For the 9-wing, very similarly to you, developing the empathy, being able
Yep.
to listen better, being a more loving individual, you know, knowing when to tone down my very loud voice and
Yeah.
and withdrawal. But then also with my 7-wing, my entrepreneurial spirit, that's just now coming out. I remember when I was studying the Enneagram, I was like, I am an 8-wing 9. And it kind of sucks because I think I've forgotten how to have fun. And this was like, you know, in the throes of kids and stuff.
Totally.
You know, what it made me realize was like, I'm not having enough fun. And so, you know, it took like 2 years to really ruminate on that and really think about what that meant for me.
That's
like,
so interesting.
Right. And so, but it opened my eyes to the thought process of where is that in me? Is it in me? And it is, because there's a little bit of all the numbers in all of us. But if you
Right.
think about your wings, where is that? So I've gotten into like, I used to just read.
Yeah, I
all
was
the
going to
time.
ask, what do you do for fun now?
I love reading, okay, and that is
Okay.
fun for me. But I was reading too much, and I was
Yeah,
reading.
we need something more fun than reading.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then the pandemic hits, and I have baby, postpartum depression. I mean,
Girl.
we had babies not too far apart.
Right,
and
exactly.
So we can get into sleep training in a minute. Fresh hell. But Netflix, okay? I was like not into TV, and what a loss on my part. Like, I mean, Stranger Things, Schitt's Creek. Look, Schitt's Creek right here, sister. That got me through maternity leave. I was like, oh my God, where was I? What? How did I miss out on this, right?
I can't tell you. One of my friends, Cindy, who may be watching this, is like you, in that she is just not a TV movie girl. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How? Like, there's so much life out there on a screen. And I understand that it seems like it's going to rot your brain, but there's actually amazing stuff.
Really good stuff.
Right now. I mean, they call it the
gosh.
golden age of TV for a reason.
Yeah.
We're in peak TV time.
The Last Dance.
Proud of you.
Holy crap, that was good. Like,
amazing.
I mean, so anyway, Dead to Me. Yeah, I could just go.
So embarrassing that I have watched all of the shows that you're naming, by the way.
Well,
all of them.
Listen, I'm catching up. Okay, I have to get to Downton Abbey. Like, shame on me.
Seen it?
It's been
amazing.
Too long. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing. I just had so many things to talk about. The last thing I want to touch on before we do our last 2 questions is your Halloween costume.
Yes. We are going as the Schitt's Creek family.
Good.
So Jordan loves Halloween, which I feel like is a blessing unto itself, that I married a man who loves silliness and costume design. Which,
girl,
I don't, he will like hate that description because it's not terribly accurate to the rest of his personality. But this one thing he just loves, he lives for. So we've done the Jurassic Park dinosaur and handler before. We've done we did Winnie the Pooh. We've done all kinds of stuff. But this year he will be Eugene Levy. I will be Catherine O'Hara. Matt will be David. Why is his Dan Levy, and Rosie is going to be Alexis, Annie Murphy. And I am so excited. We've got hair dye. We've got all the costumes. It is going to be, hopefully it will be really fun and not traumatizing to my almost 3-year-old when he gets, his blonde hair dyed black.
Oh my gosh.
No
This
warning.
is going to be fantastic.
I hope
Post a
so.
photo. I will share
Oh, I
it. I
definitely
mean,
will.
this is
I
going to be
definitely will.
so good. Okay. So
I
that
love
is
it.
fun. Also a little bit 7 there, okay?
Okay, yes,
A little bit
I'm
Alexis.
leaning
A
into
little bit
this.
Alexis.
A little bit Alexis. Yes. Ew, David.
All right. So how's the Enneagram helped you in motherhood?
Oh my gosh. If there are two areas that the Enneagram has helped me more than any other, it's in my marriage and in my parenting.
Okay.
Understanding yourself when you are in such close relationship to the people in your house,
Mm-hmm.
the more you can, the better you're gonna do.
Yeah.
I think that is true across the board for all people in all types. But I think that the biggest way it's helped me is in unwinding the control piece of the puzzle, and then in exercising the control piece of the puzzle when
Yeah.
it's necessary. I am, and if Jordan were sitting here, he would agree. He is brilliant, and he is truly one of the smartest people. I know everybody says that about their spouse, but really, he's pretty smart.
You know what number he leads with?
Oh yeah, girl. Please believe I have made him take
I figured.
all of the things.
Yeah.
He is a type 3,
Okay.
leans toward a wing 4.
Got it.
He is
The
a
costumes.
strong 3,
Yeah.
strong.
Okay.
And so he's a dentist. He's
Mhm.
unbelievably talented. He's just brilliant and real cute also. But he is not the parent who is going to be comfortable dealing with the boo-boos, the unpleasantness, it kills him. It crushes him. So I am the parent who does all the sleep training, does the potty training, and I don't mean to say I'm the one who does it all. I'm the one who writes, like the way that he describes it is I'm the quarterback and he's running the plays that I tell him to run. He's very involved. I don't want to make him sound not
It's a
involved.
great setup for an 8.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's like a dream, right?
We're the
So
quarterback
that
or the
part,
coach.
yeah, amazing. So that part is great. But then I also have to really work on asking for help
Yes.
and using, opening myself up to the vulnerability of admitting that I don't actually have a grip on absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure to people watching who are not 8s, they're like, yeah, duh. But for 8s, it is very vulnerable to admit any weak point where we don't have all of the answers.
Yeah.
And doing that really takes some practice. So I think
sometimes it takes a baby.
Oh my gosh, or 2, or 2 in a pandemic. To be like, hey girl, you actually are just living on this earth and you're subject to the whims of whatever.
Here are your teachers.
Right, exactly. They're 3 and 6 months.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So that's been where it's come in so handy to know this is actually what it looks like when I am not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it looks like when I am healthy. And the openness and the reception or receptiveness, I guess I should say, to other people's help, feedback, ideas, including my husband's ideas. Like literally this morning, my son, who has been sleep trained since he was 4 months old, woke up at 5 o'clock. This is not a thing that happens in our house.
Yeah.
And it's because I had gotten him a new nightlight. Or a nightlight. He had not had a nightlight. And, when he kind of adjusted at 5 o'clock, he saw that light and was like, I'm getting up. And Jordan said, it may be time to reconsider the nightlight. And my initial first response was like, nope, nope, this is something that we're doing. This is a decision I made. We're going to power through it. And, as the morning went on, yes, I was like, okay, he's right. I'm going to get rid of that nightlight. So, all of these things, I know, all of these things play into, but having that moment where I know, Mary Catherine, you are gripping this too tightly.
Yep.
Let it go.
Yes.
Let it go, and just being able to recognize that in myself, that is 100% due to the Enneagram and understanding, how everything works. And like I said, what it looks like when I'm not healthy and what it looks like when I'm healthy.
I agree. And that's the power of it. And that's exactly why I'm so passionate about it, is because it really is life-changing. It's a tool. It's not a be-all, end-all. But when you know how to use the tool, you start to really understand and get back to the inner child, the person that your light really is, and how to feed that light and, you know, let it shine a lot brighter, because you start feeling alive again. You're like, oh, that's why I do that, you know? So it is great self-awareness, great empathy development.
Oh, wow. Thanks. Hard one. And still working on it, of course.
Yeah. Oh, like it's a journey. It's a lifelong journey.
It's a journey.
So what kind of parenting secrets or tips can you share that you think would help all parents, that comes from an Enneagram strength of yours?
Yeah, well, you know, in my vast experience as the mother of a 3-year-old, I do have all the answers and can share anything anyone wants to know. I mean, I just know it all. No, I always laugh a little bit when, you know, mothers of like young children are like, okay, so I'll preface by saying these are some of the gems that I have picked up or been taught along the way, and I have all of the things left to learn. But I think that what eights can help other young parents really uncover in themselves is that you can accomplish what it is you set out to accomplish with your kids. I think that eights really excel at powering through something that's unpleasant to get to the end goal that we know is going to be worth it. And I have seen that kind of come out in sleep training, potty training, getting used to a car seat, getting used to an okay to wait clock. All those things that they're hard. They're really hard to do on, you know, kind of at the top of the show, you know, and sometimes are hard for a long time. But just knowing that you can do it. And if you set your mind to it, I mean, I can't remember which rapper said this, but you can do it, put your back into it. You know what I mean? Like it really is it's just that simple. And it is a strong mindset of believing in yourself and believing in your own abilities. And because the truth is, no one knows what they're doing. Right. Every parent is making it up. If anybody says that they have the answers, they're lying to you. Like, nobody knows. And so just deciding what's best for your family and making that decision with your full chest and relying on yourself and your intuition and your gut, which eights are big on, pays in dividends. And so I think that, you know, knowing that you can get it through a rough patch by believing that it's just a season and believing in your own ability to ride that season out. That's something that eights might be able to bring to the table. Ice Cube, thank you. You can put your back into it.
And it's not a good 8 episode without an Ice Cube drop. So,
I mean, you know,
I do feel like Ice Cube might be an 8. Okay. So it looks like I've got 1 minute and 51 seconds remaining. We have maximized our time here.
Sorry.
No, I have loved every second. I could talk to you all day.
Same, girl.
So big takeaway for you parents. Big 8 energy, channel it. You've got it within you. Even if you're not an 8, you're as big as you want to be. Use that energy and channel it and drive it home and get those things done for your families, and you know how to push through. So Mary Catherine, thank you so much for today.
Thank you for having me.
Stay in touch. Let's do this again. This is a ball.
Okay.
I wish you the best, and great job on that article. Everybody check out her blog, give her a follow, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Whitney. Hope you have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right, I have very little time left. Thank you, Mary Catherine. That just was a fabulous interview. Mary Catherine Scott, 8 Wing 9. And again, thank you to Fit Philosophy, our sponsor. If you comment on this episode after I post it and drop a little nugget of wisdom you picked up from Mary Catherine, you enter a contest for a virtual holiday hustle program. $150 value. You'll get virtual workouts, live stream cooking classes. It is really cool. So that is how you enter that contest. Join me on Friday for Mandy Shoemaker. She is a 2-wing 3, great friend of mine. It's going to be an awesome conversation. Thank you for joining. Thank you for all your comments and participation. If you like me, if you really like me, give me a follow at Wellison Enterprises. I appreciate your support. Thanks a lot. Take care.